Now that we've answered your question about what's in the bottom of the cup, I can go ahead and tell you that this is food in the bottom of the cup for all of our larvae. We are going to be investigating this week about the life cycle of these larvae and see how big they grow every day, just like we are going to be doing for our Wisconsin fast plants. Along that, if you remember, our learning target is to investigate the patterns that exist as organisms grow and develop. So we are going to go ahead and draw what you think the life cycle of these caterpillars is going to be. Remember, we had that question, what do you think these caterpillars looked like before they were in that stage of their development? This is an example of a life cycle. I have quite a few examples that you might have seen when you were with Mrs. Preston. These are all different examples of a life cycle. You can see that many of them started off with eggs. So I want you to be thinking about those eggs and what that could possibly mean for our caterpillars. Caterpillars are a part of the life cycles of both moths and butterflies. These caterpillars in particular that we just were looking at are a part of the life cycle of a painted lady butterfly. So what I want you to do is go and get your science notebook. If you do not have that on hand, pause this video and go ahead and go and get that for us. I'm going to show you what my notebook looks like. I labeled my topic as my predictions of the life cycle of a painted lady butterfly. You can see that I am currently on page 10 of my science notebook. I also put my dash date as 9-28-20. That is our date for today, and remember, you always want to date your pages. I also want you to think about going back to your table of contents. We have not had the chance to talk about our table of contents quite yet, but you should have the apple diagram on pages 3 and 4. You already should have that labeled. I want you to go back and look into what the topics were for each one of your pages and make sure that those are labeled. I put in here apple diagram, the phenomenon video where you wrote down a whole bunch of questions about that phenomena. And then we also have ecosystems. I put that on page 6 of my journal. Remember, if your page numbers look slightly different from mine, that is okay because this is your notebook, just like this notebook is my notebook. So your page number should match what topics you did on those pages. Here is my predictions of the life cycle of a painted lady butterfly. I tried to squeeze it really far into that, but if you end up using 2 lines, that is okay. Just use this line and then the next line, and then you'll skip that other line to start down here. So I put that on page 10 of my notebook. If you need to, go ahead and pause this video and you can make yours look like mine. I'm going to flip back to page 10. Make sure you have your page titled. If you need to pause this video, go ahead and do so now so that you can title your first page. Your science notebook should have your Wisconsin fast plant experiment from last week. I even dated it 9-24-20. You can see that I have my guess as to what the Wisconsin fast plant might look like. I put over here as its little tiny seed, you can barely even see it. Then I have this little like sprout thing that might have a leaf or two. Then I have what I might call like a bud of a flower, and then I finally have a flower itself. So I have a couple of my predictions here. Your page should look a little bit like mine. I would love for you to draw me what you think the life cycle of a painted lady butterfly is. I will share with you my thoughts for next week, but I want to see what you think the painted lady butterfly life cycle might look like. Remember, it needs to have all these little arrows just like we saw from our previous life cycles, because we are going in a circle just like that life would be. I also have some questions for you to answer when you have done your diagram. These are the questions I want you to be thinking about. What do you think is going to happen to these caterpillars? What do you think came before the caterpillars? What do you think the butterflies will look like in the end? Remember, these are called painted lady butterflies. What do you think that might mean? What do you think that means for what they look like? I want you to describe it or draw it in your diagram that you are drawing. How big will the caterpillars and butterflies get? How long will it take for us to see a butterfly? How long will it take? Do you think the butterflies will have any interesting characteristics? What do you think they will look like? And then, what are some other things that you are curious about? I want you to answer these questions in your science notebook right underneath your diagram drawing. If that means that you are taking up 2 pages, remember that is okay. My notebook is going to look a little bit different from your notebook.